You should think about those. Because I am, like, playing a run of Slay the Spire at the same time. Positive questions that aren't when Slay the Spire 2. When Slay the Spire 2 isn't a positive question. So. I really feel that sentiment is aligning against MTG bot in the channel. I, for one, would say that MTG bot has done nothing wrong. Key clap or cleave. Or dual wield. You blocked MTG bot very quickly. Understandable. Understandable. You're sitting under the weighted blanket. Your girlfriend's place. At your girlfriend's place? Or is your girlfriend's place just a weighted blanket? That'd be sweet. I can take this arm in a Hexago stacked, I guess. I think I should hit one, yeah? I can actually kill one anyway next turn, and can't kill both. So I guess it's better not to hit one. Because they don't have their big shields yet. They just have small shields. I have to kill enemies, so I'm going to take a damage card. I believe that's how the game goes. I'm playing Slay the Spire this week, okay? Dark Embrace or Wild Strike? Dude, I think it's Wild Strike. So I lost to Dark Embrace to remove 2 over something else, maybe? Can Casey give me a seed to play? I feel like that would be cheating. Would that... I feel like that wouldn't let me advance Ascensions, would it? Alright, never mind. All of your ideas are terrible. I'll come up with my own. That was uncalled for, sorry. Sorry. Is this lowest HP possible for all 3 centuries? We're at Ascension 5. Really coming in with the I'm grumpy today vibe. I put up with so much shit. You'll have no idea. I think I have to take Brutality. My deck's very bad. Ah, the modding community. Sounds like a good thing to ask about. Kind of unreal that I'm taking this much damage in this fight. Given that my deck has what, like Thunderclap, Cleave, Immolate, Whirlwind. Probably can bust as well. This is a very polite, grumpy state. As someone who works at a gas station, you understand. Believable. Alright, I'm gonna take Twin Strike, I think. I still need more damage. What was the switch to Godo being? You wrote a blog post about that you can read. Ashes Sever Soul? Ashes Sever Soul? This is how we survived the Hexaghost fight? Okay. Gotta go with what we get. Cats thinks 19 months. And a liquid bronze. And a Havoc. Havoc over Anger, I think. I don't have any strength for Anger. Bunch of gold. Dark Embrace. It's on sale. Did I have any good cards? I could Mirror Disarm. That's actually pretty good against Hexaghost. It's also pretty good against deck 2. It's like a bit expensive, but it's not egregious. I could still buy a Blood for Blood. That's thanks a $5 donation to support Free to Love. I think I want Blood for Blood. I already have Brutality. It's just like a pretty good card here, I think. I no longer have Brutality. Shit, I don't know. I think I'm getting rid of Strike. Oh, it's such a good Brutality remove. Sever Soul? Is that ever Sever Soul? The value of just never dying to Hexaghost is so much. It gives me an upgrade. Does it? I don't know. I don't know if it actually does. Gotta think about pandas too. I don't really have any block cards. Double Disarm. I think this is okay. Across, thanks to the $5 donation to support Free to Love. Remove Dark Embrace. I can't be trusted with Dark Embrace. I think I can be trusted with Dark Embrace. I think it's fine. I just kind of feel like I should rest, which isn't a great feeling. Because I also feel like I kind of have to upgrade Havoc for my deck to work next act. But I don't want to die ever here. Like, my run is strong enough for it not to be worth it to ever die here. I think I rust. What if I just exhausted brutality and then I wouldn't have it anymore? Ow! Donation button being built into Twitch UI is cool. Yeah, it's through Twitch. And I agree. It is very cool. It's through Twitch, but they partner with PayPal to actually do the stuff. So they're not paying extra for anything because PayPal can just do that already, because that is what PayPal does. It is the best way that I have ever seen to do charity stuff via the internet. Only negative you can think of is lack of anonymous donation. They have that on other charity things? You can just donate to the charity, right? You would like to donate anonymously. Corruption is kind of ludicrous here. I think I'm taking corruption over feed. I don't need the extra health as far as I can tell. It's a pretty bad Pandora's box. But I don't really want busted ground. Is this tiny house? Ew. Might be tiny house. Get Jarvis on the phone. Is PayPal not charging processing fees at all for this? I'm pretty sure that they take out the cost of them doing the transaction. But I guess I'm not certain. I'm pretty close to winning already. I could maybe just take Busted Crown. Weird. If these two were upgraded, I'd be okay with being on 3 energy, but they are not, so it feels kind of hard to swing 3 energy. Araka, thanks for the $50 donation to support Free to Love. Appreciate it. PayPal payment processing fees are applied to donations made on some partners' platforms. Oh. Yeah. It's like definitely the best that I've seen. I don't know if it's absolutely perfect. None of them are that good. I'm gonna go with this one. Nice. Getting the corruption upgrade is huge. That's kind of like an energy relic. I don't know if I want Super Elite first. Yeah, we go for it. It's actually better for me to get hexed on turn 1. Maybe. Got fabric from my sweater in my mouth. I think a metallicized plus. Over pummel. Yeah, I can do that. Bago prep. Panache is kind of interesting. Partners charge a fee, they have to disclose it. Maybe I could have Havoc'd a better card somehow. I think I did okay. Buster Crown, like, I need to put more skills on my deck. So that's why Buster Crown didn't seem great here. Call me Ishmael! Thanks for that $5.31 donation to support Free to Love. Elixir. Another Havoc. Dark Embrace. We way away. Change was bothering you? Fair. Do I have a white beast statue? No. I've gotten a lot of potions this act. Play this. I play this. And then Wild Strike hits this, which is kind of awkward, but okay. We could all use a little change. Was that a Shrek reference? Zella, thanks for the $5 donation to support Free to Love. Alright, Gremlin Leader. I didn't get attacked on turn 2 last time. Hey, we did it again. Do I want Wild Strike? I don't think I do. Would it be a song reference? Yeah, to the song Shrek. Not getting attacked in turn 2 means blood for blood is too expensive. Unironically true. As you can see. It's okay though. Wild Strike plus exists. I I find Wild Strike so hard to evaluate. It might be really good, but I don't think it is. But then sometimes it kind of, I mean, it's not Hemokinesis, that's for sure. But can you expect the card to be Hemokinesis, really? That's a lot to expect. I didn't want to play it there, but would I have played Hemokinesis? Probably. Maybe, I don't know. It's hard to say. I think I'm not playing Havoc here. Rarely has a deck wanted Feel No Pain as much as this one does. I guess if the enemy just dies, it doesn't really matter. A Ghostly Armor seems okay. They're so tiny. Look at them. They're tiny. They're already dead. I didn't do the math. Makes Frozen Eyes seem like a worse relic if you just have no interest in calculating what will happen. Alright, good slavers, right? Entrench. I don't know if I'm currently on board with Entrench. I think I'm not currently on board with Entrench. My health seems like it's going up somehow. I'm spent viewing draw order 45 seconds. I mean, it's not like it takes that long to see what it is. Serenify, thanks for a $50 donation to support Free to Love. This tiny house deck is really popping off. Agree. You know what? You're not wrong. We want to get Disarm back again. I played Bash first. Oops. The thing is, it hits really hard, Wild Strike. It just deals so much damage. Snack a while? It feels like it's better than usual with Corruption and Blood for Blood. My current potions are good, though. Sorry, I think it's a $25 donation to support Free to Love. I don't think I have to take damage. I have Horn Cleat. And then I have Corruption. I believe that this works. I'm happy to do something good for the holiday season, Zari. It seemed like a good way to spend my time. I'm glad it speaks to you. I wonder how this deck is going to beat Collector. That'll be really fun to find out. I seem great at dealing about 68 damage. But I'm not sure what happens after the first 68 damage is dealt. Raven Soros thinks the 19 months. Oh no. First time that my combo is broken. I want Dark Embrace or Corruption. I think it's Corruption for doing this turn. How did I get Blue King? I have no recollection of that happening. Regal Pillow. Yeah, that just happened. Good call. Found it on a pillow? Sure. Another Exhume? Oh god, it's happened again. Actually, I get it. Do I want Metallicize? I think I'd rather draw a card. Good character. Ooh, drop kick. Yeah, okay. What a character. Can I... I think I have to do it like this, and we take a bit of damage. Not like a lot of damage. Confused by the number of potions and realized we're lower ascension. The potion belt change is kind of big. It is noticeably easier to win when you have one more potion. Who would have guessed? Shrug? Juggernaut is better than Feel No Pain in this deck. I don't think so. Maybe at this exact moment, but the second that I find a Pummel Strike, it stops being true. It's easier for me to solve my damage than it is for me to solve my block, I think. Casey's here. Casey.
Oh, hello.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
For me, it's morning.
It's morning for me.
How early are you up for this?
9 a.m. today. I'm working a 9 to 5.
Oh, that's not bad.
Welcome to the stream. We're at Ascension 5. We were playing Ironclad. Do you have the chat up and stuff like that? I guess I should introduce you.
Yeah, I opened the Twitch stream. I don't know what it's called. Twitch.
That is what it's called?
Okay. On a separate window, and it's muted.
Alright, cool. This is Casey. Casey made the game. You can be in charge of talking about what exactly your responsibilities were on the team, I guess.
I guess you are playing the game at the same time, too.
Yes, I am. The vibe of the week is I'm going to take this account all the way from Ascension 3 to Ascension 15, which is a lot less impressive than taking it from 0 to 20, but also a lot more feasible.
Okay. Yeah, I can briefly introduce myself. My name is Casey Yano, and I'm one of the 2 co-founders of MegaCrit, which doesn't sound impressive if you realize that it's like a 2-person company. But currently we're at 8 people. So
I think it's pretty impressive.
Like, yeah, now we got like 6-7 employees, so pretty cool. And I'm like a boss person. Let's see, Casey from Casey's Blood. Is that an Inscription reference?
Yes, it is. But you are not that Casey.
I'm not that Casey. Yeah. I think it is misspelled, or it is just somebody named Casey with that spelling.
Would you say that you're a good boss?
Let's see here. Oh yeah, what do I do? I'm the. What am I? I think when a game is made by 2 people,
Kind of everything, yeah.
Kind of do a lot of everything. My main responsibilities would be game client programming. So I program a significant amount of the game client code, and then I drew all the characters and monsters and UI elements, but not the background assets, the key art, and the card and event portraits. I did most of the writing for all the events. I think about 80%, maybe a little bit less. And then I don't know. I did quite a bit of content design and systems design as well. So, but we kind of like Anthony and I do back and forth on design quite often.
I didn't know most of that. I didn't know you wrote all the events. What's your favorite event that you wrote?
Wow. Let's see. I don't really keep a list. I just kind of a stream of consciousness kind of person, so I don't really make lists or think about it often.
So I made a mod character for the game. It was going to be a mod character trilogy, but then I found out that it's actually really hard to make things for this game, which gave me a lot more respect for what you... I mean, I already had a lot of respect for what you did with the game, but then I had even more. And I tried to write events And there's so like it's so much writing, and it's such difficult writing in my experience too, because it's like you don't really have like a beginning, middle, and end like you do for a lot of writing projects in your life. It's really just you write a couple of paragraphs, and it's meant to convey a feeling of this larger world.
Yeah,
It's
I
difficult
think
what you do.
generally for event writing, my secret is that I just kind of try to grab onto like a very interesting feeling that you might get from the event, and then I just give it some whimsical language, and then I just kind of write from the hip, I guess. There's barely any like drafts and reviews. I'm just like, this is the new event. I wrote up a little blurb, like, here you go. And Anthony would be like, there's a typo here. I'd be like, excuse me?
And sometimes the text waves. It like goes up and down. Was that also you? You did the game
the
client,
waving
yeah?
stuff?
Yeah, the wavy, colorful text.
The text was very, very difficult to make.
Really?
Huh. The game engine, at least I just haven't worked in like games, like the industry before. Well, I technically don't work in the industry, like to this day. But the game engine we use doesn't have like an engine for text. How do I describe how maddening this is? When we rotate text on the screen for any reason, we don't rotate the text as an object. There's no concept of an object because we're using an engine that doesn't really like game objects. So I just rotate the entire game, render the text, rotate it, and then rotate the entire screen back to where it was. Like that's how the text is rotated in code.
The game's in Java, right? But I don't know what a game engine is, I guess.
That's a good point. Yeah, we use a game library, I would say, because there's no like GUI, there's no interface for, there's no drag and drop. There's no way to like visualize what the elements look like on screen. You just have to like compile it and run it each time. So, but it is written in Java. It's written in a library called libgdx, which is I think like a framework on top of something called lightweight Java game library, which is like a direct Java to OpenGL kind of like API, I guess, which is actually what Minecraft is also written in.
Huh.
The Java edition.
Sure, that makes sense. So, you started out making them in Java, which to me, like Java is not what most games are made in, right? Is that fair to say?
Java?
Maybe it's not. Java's a very common language.
Java is a very common language, and it was one of the 3 languages that I learned in like university. The other 2 were like C++, and I was like, I don't think I want to make a game in C++ because I want to release it one day. And then the other one I knew was even a lower level language, but I don't even remember the name anymore. It was so long ago.
And then you switched to using Unity, which is more well known as an engine or a language. Wait,
Yeah.
is Unity an engine or?
Unity is actually an engine, yes.
Okay,
There's
okay.
like all sorts of stuff happening. So I guess why we switched to Unity at one point for the new project, which is still not announced, is first of all, C# is like Java but better. And then the way Java works is that it creates a VM, so a virtual machine sort of, and then it kind of like emulates like a Java world, and then that's how like everything is rendered and run, and that's kind of why it has that motto of like write once, run everywhere, which is good until you realize that's not true.
Sure, because like the mobile port and Switch port as well for this game have been a lot, right?
And a lot of like consoles like PlayStation and stuff don't allow you to really do that easily.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, well, I want more people to play the game. So for for the new project, why don't we use an engine that works on all those platforms? And there aren't many options. It's like a desert. There's no like, you either want to do it directly in C++. I think GameMaker has some options to export it to other platforms, and then of course we have Unity, which is supported by a bunch of people, the Unity team. There's a runtime that translates all this code so that it works on all these different platforms. So and it's free, which is important.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Unreal at the time was like a very expensive. You have to have like kind of like, I wouldn't say connections, but the pricing is like very opaque at the time. So I was like, maybe like I don't know how long it's gonna take. I don't really need any fancy 3D features. Why don't we use Unity? I like C#. It'll just work. That's why we switched to that engine. And now we switched away from it, but we won't get too much into that, I think.
Okay. How was your year? Other than working on an unannounced project, what fun things have you gotten up to?
That's a good question. I was gonna make a list, and then I didn't.
Okay. I can tell you things that I know that you've done. If it would be helpful.
It's been a good year, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a wild year, I would say.
You went to at least one convention?
Yeah, I think every single year I do 2 conventions. I try to be consistent about that. I go to GDC, and then I go to PAX West.
Oh, I went to PAX West. Well, I didn't go to PAX West. How do you do on convention floors? Are you, like, walking around seeing things, or are you kind of... You have 1 or 2 things that you do over the course of the weekend and
That's
meeting people?
Well, I think specifically for GDC, I have to travel to SF. So I try not to just be like, oh, I'll just go to some talks and then go home. I don't think the talks are too useful for indie developers personally,
Mm-hmm.
just because indie developers don't have to go extremely deep into specific subjects like rendering pipelines, like a large programming architecture thing. Well, maybe it's important to do large programming architecture for certain types of games,
Mm-hmm.
like Slay, but I generally just go there to meet other developers, notably indie developers. So it's a very different atmosphere from when I'm working from home, which is just home alone and just working. So I become like social Casey, which is like a very different version of Casey from day-to-day life, I guess.
Yeah, my experience at PAX West was I went to the convention floor. I knew that I had one person I wanted to see at Devolver. So I went and met her and chatted with her for like 15 minutes. And I was like, you are manning a booth and have people to talk to. I should leave.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what else would I like to do at PAX? And I looked around and I was like, nothing. And then I left. So that was my PAX experience.
Yeah, you have to like reach out ahead of time to schedule things. Generally, if somebody's manning a booth, they don't want to be like, oh, like, yeah, go, like,
Yeah.
oh, you want to like hang out later? And they kind of like stuck there. They can't escape. They have to be politely declined. So
I exaggerated. I had another friend who also didn't want to do anything at PAX, and so we kind of set up shop in one of the hallways and just had people come and meet us because he was job shopping and I was meeting viewers a little bit. So I was like, okay. It was fine.
it's fun.
But I am not a big convention person. I think
Also, don't really do conventions too much. GDC is very different because it's a convention for developers. So, like pretty much everybody is a developer. So everybody is there to meet other developers. So the energy is very different. It's completely different from PAX, which is, for... I'm not very good with words today. But
PAX is kind of for... It's one of those conventions... TwitchCon has a huge identity problem like this. It's a convention that's kind of for at least 3 different types of person. It is for gamers, it is for game developers, and it's for people who work around those spaces, like streamers or peripherals manufacturers or artists. And yeah, when you have a convention like that, it just kind of feels like the identity is very confused.
Yeah, I think it's okay, because it's so massive. It's like, I think, tens of thousands of people at those kinds of conventions. You just have to, I think, if you get lost into thinking they have to experience an entire convention, then it's probably not the way to do it. There's like a big board game section.
Board game section is fun.
Booths. There's the peripheral stuff. There's actually talks that go on during PAX time. There's parties for people who like partying and like concerts and whatnot. So I don't do any of that. I just know that some developers are in. So I just kind of hit them up ahead of time. I'm just like, yo, you going to PAX? And they'd be like, yes. And they'd be like, I have a free day on XYZ. Or we have a studio, we have like a developer, what is the word I'm looking for? We run a party from our office where we invite 30 developers the day before the convention, and so we generally get together. We kind of invite quite a few people, and it's just a bunch of indies, and we just buy some pizza, we make some food, etc., and we have a good time. And that's kind of like when, in that kind of casual setting, you can set up like other meetings, or just hang out, or choose if you want to hang out, etc.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I do it, I guess.
The most social I was at PAX was the night before PAX at the Twitch party, because Twitch does a similar sort of thing.
Yeah. And then we can, then you can visit them at their booth, and it's like, oh, hi. Okay, so you like...
Get to know people.
And then I would, do things like man their booth, and I can pretend to be them. It's very funny.
Do you actually?
Yeah.
Huh.
So.
I'm trying to work out how to play this turn, but I don't remember what I was gonna say. Hold. I think it's completely gone. Oh no. It's fine. It probably wasn't that insightful.
Yeah. If you think about it, manning a booth is like incredibly difficult work, because you are taking like some of the most introverted people in the world and having them stand and I don't know how to say this in a nice way, but we're not physically fit, okay? And we have to stand all day.
Casey? I don't think you're not physically fit. I feel like you're needlessly critical of yourself.
I try to actively exercise, but not all of us do. Let's just say, on average, a game developer is not very going to stand 12 hours straight. Okay.
Yeah.
We're not like restaurant. We're not like food workers.
I also just think nobody is really set up to do that. So.
So.
It is a miserable thing.
I can talk about your game. What do you want me to say? What do you want me to, say to the folks who come by? What are the questions? And then you just take over for like an hour or two, and they can take a break. They can get a burrito, whatever. It's a nice thing to do.
That's a nice thing to do. I have done a few things adjacent to booth manning. I guess I literally had a booth at TwitchCon one year, where I stood there for, I think I was on for an hour, maybe an hour and a half. No, I think it was an hour. Like 10 people came total. which was fine. But I was right next to one of the offline TV streamers, and she had a line that like stretched outside of the limits of the line set up for the booth, and was talking with people and taking photos with them just nonstop for 30 minutes past the allotted time. And it was hard not to feel a little bad on account of that.
Yeah, that is quite a bit of work.
I was honored that I got to stand next to her. It's a lot of work, yeah.
I think it's a little different for content creators as well, because I think there's more of the idea of like selling an image, and if that isn't, I wouldn't say that people aren't genuine, but I'm saying that, you know, you would have to act more polite, more professional, and I think keeping that up for a long time is also quite difficult.
I think I'd go the other direction. I think that people who work booths for like Devolver or like the booths at conventions are very impressive. You presumably, the people who are making a booth like that have someone who they have hired who is good at making booths like that.
Yeah.
Or do you contract it out, or
know other people?
there's people who know people?
People who know people. Cindy.
Whereas, as a content creator, I just kind of show up. I'm like, I pick which pants I want to wear that day. Usually I pick a nice pair. And
Okay.
then I'm kind of just there
I see.
to make stuff up.
Sounds nice.
How do you feel about the...
Should I be looking at Stream Chat at all?
Yeah, if you'd like. There are people who are asking you when Slay the Spire 2 will come out, and also sometimes interesting questions.
Oh, okay. Oops. When is Slay the Spire 2 coming out? I don't know. When we work on it and release it. But to be fair, you know, we haven't announced what we're working on.
True.
It can be a fighting game. It can be a racing game. Who knows? Nobody knows.
Could it be a
When does
race
Slay the
fighting
Spire 3
game?
come out? I mean, if I had to get my best guess of when Slay the Spire 3 would come out, worked on Slay the Spire for quite a while, and then we would need to finish the current project, maintain that for a while, and then if that game was Slay the Spire 2 and Slay the Spire 3, it's a lot of what ifs. The range is like, you know, plus minus 20 years.
It's also not guaranteed to ever happen.
There you go.
You don't always
That's my
have to
answer.
make a
Plus
sequel
minus
when you
20
just...
years.
When you just get the game right the first time, you don't have to make it a second time. This isn't Hollywood.
Between 20 years from now and 50 years from, well, I guess technically infinity if it's never released. Sorry, everybody.
You have worked on a lot of gaming projects that you've made public this year. Like in your blog, you talked about lots of different games that you've made that haven't necessarily ever been released, and some that have been released that have been forgotten largely.
That's true.
And then you released the cute auto battler in Godot. Is it Godot or Godot?
That is actually a big contention point
Ooh.
in the GODOT
I see.
community.
I see.
I'm not sure why. Even the creators don't want to get into it, you know.
That's funny.
I actually watched one of the Waiting for Godot plays
Mm-hmm.
on YouTube just to see how they would pronounce it.
Sure.
And the person said Godot. I'm just saying. The person said Godot.
Yes, but I'm not... Is that the reference being made? By the engine
Yes.
name?
Yes. The play is called Waiting for Godot.
Well,
But then I
I
saw
don't
a
see how
different
this
play.
can be contentious then.
Then they saw the play and someone else said Godot on a different play. So Whoops.
Oh.
Such a big oopsie.
Yeah, I think they were just wrong.
I just don't care about being right as well. So
Right.
there is that. I think getting into an argument over the definition of words is probably the downfall of society.
Mm-hmm. A lot of great use of time. So, how has working on other games been? I imagine that Slay the Spire was kind of a 2 to 3 year, oh gosh, this is blowing up, this is my life now kind of moment. And you've gotten to stop releasing patches, like sometimes you're releasing patches multiple times a week. I feel like for like a year there was a weekly patch or something for this game. And you've gotten to work on some other stuff. That's gotta be cool.
I definitely didn't work on anything during the weekly patch phase.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we didn't have like a testing pipeline or kind of like a localization process. So we would just receive localization updates right after we release any weekly patch, and then we would release the localization update patches soon after. And it was just a lot of work. So I didn't get to work on any other side projects. I think I neglected my physical health a little bit as well. So,
I can't imagine. I imagine there were a lot of late nights. And probably harder to make it to the gym.
yeah. But, yeah. So that's over. So now I get to do the things that I like to do, which is I really like prototypes.
Mm-hmm.
So I make a lot of prototypes. I made many prototypes in my life. Probably 30 plus. I don't really track that much. I think I wrote a blog post about how much I did.
Yeah.
But then later I found out I made considerably more.
Oh.
It's okay.
Huh. I wonder, as you say that, is there a way, like, to make a prototype and then give it to somebody else? Like, if you like making the prototype but don't really
I see.
have any interest in doing more than that with it?
I only consider a prototype done when you can have an executable and somebody else can play it.
Okay.
So it's like ready for like a play test. Otherwise, if you open a project and then name it something and then draw a sprite, you could say technically you made a prototype, which I don't think is correct. So.
But then there's all the upkeep on that and everything, which you don't necessarily want to do, right?
Yeah.
So have you ever made an executable for a game and thought, this is pretty good, I don't really want to do anything more with it, and sent it on to somebody else to take over? Or have you ever thought about doing that?
I don't do that.
Is that something anybody does in the gaming industry?
I don't think so. Not that I know of. Any instances of something like that are quite rare, I think. We're all control freaks. So I think making something and giving it to somebody else for any amount of price is very strange. But sometimes, if you're like a big open source kind of person, you just put it on open source and be like, there it is, it's out there. I'm not going to work on it because it doesn't excite me or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gone now. Alright, somebody says, XAM2992 says, what version control software / DevOps tools do you all use? We use GitLab instead of GitHub because it was cheaper at one point. We use Writer as our IDE. We're currently using Godot for our game engine. We use something called ClickUp, which is a kind of like Jira, except weirder and cheaper. I'm not sure if I would recommend it, but we use it for task management and documentation. We use something called Sentry for what is it called? Sentry for crash and bug monitoring. We use something called Groove for customer support and email assigning. Let's see, what else is there?
Oh my god. I use like
Jira
I use OBS Studio and
I use OBS Studio too.
Okay,
OBS is
there you
great.
go. And that's it. That's me. Done.
Weirder Jira. I mean, there's different eras of Jira as well. And the era that I used when I used to work at Amazon. Wait, how old am I? When was Amazon?
Relatable.
8, 9, 10 years ago? But anyway, back then, Jira was very, very overloaded. There were a maddening amount of plugins, so maybe I was a little traumatized. It loaded very slowly, and there were so many fields. But I think you can probably make it so it doesn't look like that. Let's see. And yes, we use Discord. Discord is actually our main mode of communication. We are a remote company. We do have an office, but it's just me and another developer, Jose. Jose and I are in the office, just two of us. We used to use Slack. How do we stop using Slack? Slack is very expensive the more people you add. And you cannot search into the past after a certain amount of messages. Unless you have like the Pro or Premium or something. Also, the screen sharing video voice chat stuff wasn't working very well at the time. Actually, I don't think it existed at the time. So we just dropped it and used Discord because it just seemed like a better free alternative with potentially lacking security. But if we have a security leak about a video game, it's not the end of the world. So we were like, it's fine.
Do you have any suggestions? Like, that's a lot of stuff to work out, right? Do you have any suggestions for someone who was interested in making a game and scaling that game up on what not to do and trying to work out how you're going to put together all of this?
I see. For prototypes, I don't use ClickUp. So I just use Google Docs. I think just Google Docs, sharing docs with people, and having like a single channel on Discord if you're working with other people is more than sufficient for communicating and just working together. You can drag and drop files into Discord, so it's pretty good. So all these other tools and processes. Well, I mean, you would need to use Git still. Because you don't want to lose everything if your computer dies.
I have some bad habits as a coder, I think.
Git.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Git, Discord, Google Docs, Game Engine, parentheses like Godot. I'm trying to think of my current prototype here because I have a side project.
Mm-hmm.
Is that all I do? That is all I do. Those four should be enough. There are some nice things to do, like you can do Discord integration. So even in my side project thing, we have a robot that just prints out git commits information and stuff like that. Rebellier
Yes.
says, what is the fun part of prototyping side projects for you? I guess there's just a lot of design stuff. There's just not enough time in the world to make all the games. If they were real projects, they take 1 to apparently 7 years to make. We only have so little time on Earth, right?
Is that how long Slay the Spire worked? When did you
Spire.
start working on Slay the Spire?
2015. I guess I guess we've been in maintenance mode for Slay the Spire for a few years.
Yep.
So active development was like 3 or 4 years. But there's only so many games you can make in your lifetime. So side projects and prototype allow you to take an idea and just work on it and see what it feels like and not be, fully committal about it.
Is there a feeling in particular that you like the most when you're prototyping a game and playing it for the first time? And you talked about vibes and writing events too. It feels like you are often seeking out a feeling in design.
Yes, I would say that I work from the end goal, which is like I'm playing a video game or reading a book or doing something, and then you just kind of get like some silly ideas, It's like, what if you're playing a game that's about gambling and bluffing, but then you can pull out a gun and kill the other person if they're cheating a lot, and vice versa. And you're like, how do I emulate that kind of feeling and tension of like the risk reward of immediately pulling out a gun and shooting somebody when you're gambling? And then so like you get like an idea like that's like a little stupid and doesn't make sense. And then you work backwards to try to make a prototype to capture that feeling. And then you make it, and you're like, oh, okay, this doesn't feel like I thought it would. And then you just abandon the prototype, and that's it, done. So,
what was it about Slay the Spire's feeling that was like, okay, I'm gonna keep going?
I see. Slay the Spire's core concept was made by Anthony, and I think the idea was that there's no like roguelike deck building games that are digital. I think there was. I think there are two, but I think we were fully aware of them.
Ascension and something else.
I think it was Coin Crypt, which I don't know if it pegged itself as a roguelike deck builder. Maybe it did. I'm not sure, but it wasn't. But we weren't like deeply diving into games. And then there was like a game on iOS, I think. But I don't have Apple devices. So to me, I just like making games too. I think the process of making games is enjoyable. Like programming is very just fun to do when you make systems work. Like if you play Factorio, people just like playing Factorio. I know it sounds strange, but sometimes you just like doing it. And Anthony was like, hey, why don't we make this kind of game? And I was like, sure. Dominion and Ascension were physical games. So I would say I don't have many friends, so I don't play many board games in person.
You have plenty of friends. Yes, I can relate to that, because when I sat down to play Slay the Spire for the first time, I thought, I have loved card games for my entire life, and I have always wanted like a 1 hour bite-sized card game that I can play by myself that is interesting, and somebody has finally made it. So, I think that was an incredibly reasonable concept to pursue. Well done! Did a very good job of it. Because people have been trying to make it again ever since, and I don't know. It's not as good.
Oh, it might be. I don't know. I don't really play card games, so. I dislike playing digital card games at the time. The only digital card game that was worth playing, in my opinion, this is hot take, was Hearthstone. This was around 2016, 2015. Other card games, there was just no feeling of like manipulating cards. It didn't feel good to track the cards. They were just like static images on the screen. It was very difficult to read the text. The buttons were just like, it just felt like a web page every single time. So to me, just like I was talking about the feelings of making games, I wanted to feel like you were playing a card game, and I wanted to feel like you're going through a world that is alive, and you're defeating monsters, and also have the roguelike deck building component. It wasn't like the genre that was the most important thing to me. That was what was important to Anthony. To me, what was important was all the other stuff.
Sure. Makes perfect sense. Explains what we are seeing, and also it's incredibly relatable. I wrote a big thread about UI UX for card games on Twitter earlier this year, I think. Maybe that's one of the cool things that I've done this year. I've done a few cool things this year.
I didn't know you were writing stuff. I gotta go find it.
I wrote a book, Casey, and then I sent it to you.
Okay, well, I read the book. I didn't know you're publishing multiple books.
No, this was just a thread. Sometimes I write threads about things.
A book is very serious business. You know, if someone writes a blog post, I just get a bunch of dumb ideas. I just write them down, and then I just make a blog post. They're not like serious commitments. Books that are like don't write stupid stuff. You know, that'll be in print forever somewhere one day. You know,
which is kind of overwhelming, yeah. Because most of the time, as a content creator, I'll just say something. It's like, well, that joke didn't come off, but like 3 people reacted negatively, and now everyone will forget. Whereas with a book, it's like, yeah, 5 years from now, people are going to ask me about that book and expect me to still agree with all of the things I said in it, which is a wild thought.
It is very. It's like people change over time. What a concept.
I tried to mostly write things I'd keep agreeing with, though. Yeah. So a frustration that I have had with attempts to make a follow-up to Slay the Spire, like, you know, the observation that Slay the Spire is very popular and lots of people like it, and then people trying to make the same sort of experience but improve on it, is that everyone seems to try to make it more of a card game, and very few people try to make it more of an experience. Mm-hmm. And if anything, adding more and more card game rules, like that's at the cost of the experience, in my experience, as it were. And so instead of like the first run of Slay the Spire I ever played, you presented to me that Perfected Strike existed. I was like, okay, I'm going to play Perfected Strike then. And I took every card that had Strike in it, and I died in Act 2, and it was incredible. And it was incredible not because, like, the card game was particularly compelling, although it was fine. What was cool was, like, I lost and had fun anyway. And then I wanted to play more afterwards. I wanted to find out what this city was. I wanted to find out what other things there were to do, like making Perfected Strike work. So I was immediately hooked. And I just, like, I don't know. Don't get that often.
Yeah, I mean, I play a lot of roguelites this day. And before Slay the Spire's release, I played, like, a lot of them. And so I can always tell, like, certain types of items, cards, or weapons have like weird potential, where it was like hard to tell if it was good, and then I would be fixated on making it work. And I think having that kind of content is very, very important. I have a lot of critiques on content design, but I'll have to gather my thoughts on it someday.
You played TFT at all?
TFT?
Yeah.
When it came out, I actually tried to get back into it a few months ago. And it was overwhelming. I need to like read through an encyclopedia.
Yes, that is a
I was like,
very fair criticism of TFT.
I was like, am I too old for this? Do I have time for this game? And none of my other friends were playing it, and so I couldn't even confide with somebody else and be like, hey, like maybe today we'll learn about this archetype and what the best strategy for. So it's a lot of work. So it felt like work. And the game had been out for quite a bit of time now. So it was a little grueling. I think the most exciting time for most competitive games is on release.
Sure.
And I feel like I already had my fun during the time as well, and had all this like muscle memory sort of feeling of what were good and bad, but all of them were wrong. So I had to retrain myself, and I was like, this is maybe I'll try other video games.
So I bring up TFT because there was a set where there were Yordles, and if you had 6 Yordles in play, I think if you had 3 Yordles in play, you would get a new Yordle every round.
Yes.
And then if you got 6 Yordles in play and all of them were 3 stars, you unlocked the 7th Yordle, which conceptually was meant to be very strong, although if you actually played it, you'd like still lose pretty regularly. But you know, it was trying to be strong. Yeah.
That's not Exodia.
And that was so much fun for me because it was weird and it felt like it had some sort of story that I was invited to, like you're making these weird Yordles work. And I've never enjoyed a TFT set more than I enjoyed that one. So, when you're talking about like weird factor and evoking a feeling and stuff like that, yes, it's very hard to do well. There are a few times when people have, and it's been awesome. Rotato did that for me this year. Orb of Creation has done that for me this year.
Both great games.
Baldur's Gate 3 has done that for me. I don't think I'm alone in that. I think a lot of people liked that one.
I think some people have heard about that game, yeah.
Yeah.
Just imagining like the Getty images, like I can't hold all these like vegetables, except that they're all just like trophies.
Uh-huh.
Bob Below says, is Casey an incremental player? The answer is yes. And idle games are too dangerous, so I don't play them anymore. But the active incrementals, which are a little more respectful of your time, I'm a big fan of. Oh, congratulations on the win.
Thank you. It is...
Do you want to do more? Oh, sorry.
It is really interesting playing up through the Ascensions. The game holds up. Okay. Something that I worried about with Slay the Spire is I used to play FTL, and I loved FTL. FTL is another game that brings an awesome feeling, and it brings that bite-sized, like, 2-player, single-player experience in a roguelike format in a mechanics system that was compelling enough for me. I'm not an RTS player, but it was a simple enough RTS that I could get into it. And what I found was once I got good enough at FTL that I was winning like 80% of the time, I just got really bored of it. There was so much garbage time in the game. Waiting to repair your ship after a fight, or training up your crew on a really easy fight at the start. Just a lot of situations where you didn't actually feel in danger, and your decisions didn't really matter. And I was worried as patches came out that buffed cards and things in Slay the Spire, and also just as players got better, that I would get to a point where Slay the Spire had started to feel like a lot of garbage time to me, and I would get bored of it, like I did with FTL. And I am kind of astounded at how well Slay the Spire holds up even when you are extremely likely to win. Like, it is still somehow interesting.
Somehow interesting. Well, let me know when you figure out something.
I mean, okay, so one of the things is the environment and the feeling that you're participating in is awesome. And the feeling of playing the cards is great. Like, I'll shuffle a deck of cards for fun even if I'm not playing a game, you know? That's an idle habit that's just enjoyable. And so it's fun to watch the cards fly around on the screen. You did a really good job with that. Another part of it, I think, is that the system that you are functioning within is... It's very large. There are lots of permutations of cards and relics you can have together, but they do feel like the rules for accumulating them all stay the same from run to run, such that even if I'm winning very comfortably, I could take a card and see how it performs and learn something for next run. And I never felt that in FTL. In FTL, it was always like, I'm a little bit worried about the final fight, so I have to make my deck as good as I possibly can, or my ship in FTL's case. And I never felt like I was being encouraged to experiment with different things which might matter for next time. Also, I think there are 28 ships in FTL or something instead of 4 characters. So next time is like, when is that even going to be if you're going through the ships?
Yeah, I mean, I like FTL a lot, but I agree that like you're playing a certain ship, and then generally pretty early on in the game you have a breaking point between doing like one or two strategies, and then you just kind of play it out. And there's a lot of start and stop time to make sure that like your character's leveled properly, and when you reach the end of the game and you lose by just a little bit, it actually feels a little bad sometimes. It's like, should I have micromanaged a little bit more?
Yeah.
I feel like my runs take forever. Maybe I'm just slow at buttons, but it looks like I played 90 hours though. So it's not. I think it's quite good. 90 hours is like a very, very good game.
In the hard no pause community of FTL, which is what I was a part of.
Oh, okay.
There was some there was a separation of rules that players abided by, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Where some people would use cheat engine to speed the game process up when they were training crew, because you are legitimately just finding a spot in the first sector where you can take your hands off the mouse and keyboard and go away for 30 minutes and come back and your crew is full level. So some people would use cheat engine for it, and then other people would alt tab out of the game and like play a crossword or something because they thought cheat engine was cheating, and I think that is so funny.
It is called cheat engine.
It is.
Obviously, we're all using it for cheating only.
Yep. A schism, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah, Slay the Spire, there was a moment in there where it was like you could generate healing cards from Dead Branch and stuff like that, and so there were fights with a lot of garbage time in them pretty regularly. And nowadays, there's much, much less than that.
Yeah, we try to remove that kind of stuff for sure. Encouraging that kind of plays. I think there's one item in the Binding of Isaac where you heal over time. And so you would just kind of sit there, do nothing.
Just leave for a while.
That's extremely painful.
Yeah.
So I remember that feeling, and I was like, we're definitely not going to do that and try our best to. I think there is maybe one way to do it with some obscure card or potion generation or something.
You can do a variety of silly things with like Nightmare in particular. Nightmare can make infinite of a card, so you can use Nightmare on Alchemize to get the perfect potions.
Nightmare was a mistake.
Did you see when I broke the game with Nightmare?
Yeah, I have to think about the pros and cons of Nightmare.
At some point, I had a run where I made enough poison on the heart that it overflowed, and the heart stopped taking poison damage.
I just leave it there, whatever.
Yeah.
That's what you get for disrespecting the heart.
I guess so. I just killed it with like the common attacks that I had from Act 1. It was okay.
Fair enough.
What else do I want to ask you while you're here? Oh, what games have you been playing? What are your... What's your like top 5 games of the year in terms of games you've played?
I'm glad you asked, because I wrote a blog post, but then now that I think about it, that blog post isn't really like my top 5. Just games I found interesting to talk about.
Sure.
I'm a big fan of Resident Evil 4. That's like definitely my top 5 this year.
Was that a remake? I've never played a Resident Evil.
Well, I would say there are 3 different Resident Evil types. There's like the classic puzzle type, which is like Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3. And then there are the Resident Evil action games, I call them, which is Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6. And then there's like the new FPS Resident Evil games, which is Resident Evil 7 and 8. So they actually like kind of switch how they feel and how they play out between each one. So, and Resident Evil 4 is the best by, in my opinion, by quite a big margin. But if you enjoy a certain genre more, then it could be different for yourself. But it's kind of a combination of like campy cutscenes and enemies and like characters, a little bit of resource management, and it just has a good flow. And it's a very interesting, like the controls are very different from most video games. So optimizing how to play and like having interesting things happen, like the enemy's head like turned into like a scorpion monster, and you're like, oh, I can pause the game right here. I can get my rifle out, and like there are 4 enemies lined up. I can get 4 headshots at the exact same time. Or you can suplex cultists. There's just a lot of silly things that happen. And it seems like a serious horror game, but there's nothing serious about Resident Evil, in my opinion. It's just very hard for me to take it seriously, and it's really funny. Whereas it's like a comedy game for me. Resident Evil 4 is very funny. It is like the funniest experience. And Resident Evil 2 is like very different, which is like the second best Resident Evil game, in my opinion. And the remake is also spectacular for that one.
Casey, why is this a fight that you can get on floor 5? Like,
Sorry,
you know that this fight is harder than most of the Act 1 Elite fights, right? Like,
maybe I thought the game was too easy. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking at the time.
I respect that.
I did not consult 12 scientists to like decide, you know, we're just making video games.
Yeah, I respect that.
Generally my response is just, you know, it's fine. You can mod it out or just make your own video game. It's fine. We don't have our preferences.
Just make your own. Oh boy.
I feel like there were a lot of questions. Let me see here. Oh, there's so many questions. I wish they would be aggregated somewhere magically.
We have people who could do that for you right now if you want.
Let's see here.
S-Rap, can you make a Google Doc with an aggregation of the questions for Casey?
I'm just like parsing for question marks.
Yeah.
Angry Bavarian says, would you recommend working in the game industry? I'm an indie developer, so I don't work in the game industry. I'm just the person who makes games. I'm technically count as part of the industry, but I'm not really working for anybody. There are people who work for me, and you can ask them. I hope they recommend working in the gaming industry. Let's see here. What are some? Can you recommend an idle game? Let's see. Recently, Anthony and I and some folks on our server enjoyed Norp Analog, Orb of Creation, but that's pretty obvious, I think.
Orb of Creation is not, like, for how good that game is, surprisingly few people know it exists. That is a thing that I have found. Have you generally found that most people you talk to know Orb of Creation exists?
Nobody knows Orb of Creation exists. I'm the person telling everyone it exists.
Okay, yeah. I have generally found the same thing. I have like a couple of friends who know about it, and we have like done podcasts together specifically about it and stuff, because like, why? I don't know. Why did Baldur's Gate win awards? Like, when a clearly better game was released?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. We can get into that, but before that, I just want to point out that just because someone works in the game industry doesn't mean they play a lot of games, which sounds very strange, but it's just a fact, you know. Like there are a lot of casual gamers or people who like have just played, or just like Nintendo people, and they're like, you know what, I want to make games too. And so I think it's pretty. Anthony and I are more like game design community people more than game dev community people, I would say. We talk more to game designers than game developers, I think. Orb of Creation, though. Why is it not popular? I think it looks very intimidating.
It does look terrible. But It's so strange because the experience of playing it is better than the experience of playing games which look good. Like, whether it looks good or not isn't that important to the fact that you sit down to play it and then make interesting decisions for 12 hours straight and then want to start again tomorrow.
Yes, there is that pull, which is very terrifying. I mean, I only have 52 hours, so.
Well, it is like a 12-hour long game, so that's not.
12 hours? How do you do? You are so good at games. It's maddening.
Yeah, okay, maybe. Sure, maybe, but
I've only beaten it twice, so it must be at least 26 hours.
okay.
Why
Like-
is this fast? How is this possible?
Got into the point where it says more dev time required. Is that what we're counting as beating it? I don't know what counts as beating Orb of Creation, so.
Also, Orb of Creation is it looks and sells itself as like an idle game, and most of those games are free. And I think there's kind of like a hesitance when it comes to buying those kinds of games because you don't know what it's going to feel like to actually play. And and reviews are reviews. They don't really help too much. There's a lot of genres where the reviews are always good because there's just not a lot of randomness, or there's a lot of positivity in the community. So reviews don't really indicate game quality all the time. Yaoshi says, "Do you love cat girls?" I don't know. Let's find out. Girls. I don't know. Like, it's all right. Not really like something I would actively seek out. I mean, some of these images are pretty cute. Not really like a big anime girl looking up person, I guess. Sorry, Yaoshi. I would say 3 out of 5 stars. 5280 asks thoughts on Game Maker's recent business model change. I think it's some good stuff. I think, if I recall, I'm just going off the feeling that I had when I read it.
What's Game
I don't really
Makers?
remember exactly what it is.
Oh, there's a doc aggregating questions for you if you want.
I think what else was a big win in the gaming industry? I think Mono Game.
Mono
also
game?
was gonna go open source. Mono Game is like a C# game engine,
Okay.
which is based off of XNA. The engine that we used for Slay the Spire, libgdx, is also based off of XNA, like the architecture and framework. It's like a library, but it's good that it's gonna be open source soon. Okay. Game Maker changes. I have just so much game engine news this year because of an event. So, been a lot of changes.
Because of an event.
Game Maker ditches subscription model for indie developers. Oh yes. I haven't looked too deep into it because we're just on the Godot train. But you'll have to evaluate yourself. And I don't want to be like, this engine is good or bad. Because the landscape is always changing. Let's see, let's start from the top here. How does it feel knowing you created a game where thousands of people have thousands of hours playtime in? No stress for next game, Kappa. First of all, lots of stress now that I read that. But I'm not sure if I would play thousands of hours, but whatever works for you, you know. The thing is, I can't get the feeling of excitement and novelty because I made it, which is like the downfall of working on a video game that you want to play. In my opinion, at least. I can never play Slay the Spire and be like, oh yes, this is exactly what I wanted. It's like, I know it's gonna happen. I know the math behind this. It's ruined for me. But it's just insane. I just can't imagine playing Slay the Spire and having the same experience. There's no way for me to get that. So, is it stressful for the next game? Not really. I don't really think about things like making good games or more popular games or leaving a legacy or anything like that. I just like working on games. That's what I want to do. Is just I enjoy the actual process of making the video game. So if the game turns out to be good or bad, that's pretty inconsequential to me. As long as I feel like I'm working on something that people will enjoy, and I do try to maximize, how much people enjoy it. I'm just trying my best, I guess. Let's see here.
I have been guilty of, in my life, I have been guilty of seeing devs put out one incredibly good game and then thinking the next one has to be just as good for me as that one was, which, I mean, is wrong for so many reasons. So I've had to get away from that idea, but I can relate to why some people see Slay the Spire. They're like, the next game that the people who made Slay the Spire make will be even better than Slay the Spire was for me specifically, which is just not a healthy or sensible thing to believe about.
I agree.
Somebody making games, yeah, or whether those games are about you and for you specifically.
Yeah, I think definitely it's something I've thought of before. I generally think about it from like a musician's point of view, because musicians have one-hit wonders all the time. But sometimes they get like really angry and lash out at like the listeners and audience. But like the people I respect are kind of the bands that are just like, we're just gonna keep doing shows, we're just gonna keep making music. Doesn't need to be as popular, etc. And as long as that passion to just make good stuff is there, I think that's all you really want to do. You just want to make music that sounds good, and if people like it and it's better than the previous thing, that's great. If not, that's fine too. But if you don't want to make music, that's tough. I think as a game developer, the motivation is that you should want to make games that are fun. And if you don't like making the games itself, it's going to be a very, very difficult thing. Games take a significant amount of time to make. So if you don't like the process, you are in for a very, very bad time.
Yeah. It's Nightmare. I have Nightmare and Alchemize, as previously discussed.
Yeah, it's great. Oh, you got 5 potion slots? My goodness. Hashtag already won.
Silent's been surprisingly difficult at low difficulties. I think because her starter deck isn't that good at Act 1. And so
I agree.
It feels a bit harder to leverage the fact that Act 1 is easier into becoming very strong. Also, other than Potion Belt, I do not have the best relics that are in the game at the moment. But the cutest. I do have the cutest ones.
Yeah. Not too good, these relics. It might be an uphill battle, but I believe.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Felter says, how did seeing Jorbs' first heart kill feel? Or the first heart kill in general, I guess. The first heart kill happened in our internal playtest servers. I guess. I wasn't really around to watch somebody specifically beat the heart. We got a lot of angry messages when they lost. I think in general people message us when they're upset more than when they're happy. I don't really remember anybody's first heart kill, to be honest.
Do better, people.
Kind of a non-answer. Sorry.
18 plus 25. when I worked on Long War 2, a mod for XCOM 2,
Hmm.
I was really surprised at, like, I'd never realized it before, but, like, I'd been playtesting something for 6 months, right? And then we released it, and somebody beat it, and we're like, cool, yeah, they beat it. Like we did in playtesting for 6
Hope you
months.
had a good time.
And then people would be like, oh my gosh, it's the first person to ever beat this thing. And it was like, well, what? Anyway.
Yeah, I think from a developer's perspective, we're designing things that are beatable. So it is. I think if it was like an actual monumental PvP or like MMO sort of environment where it was extremely difficult, there was like a time constraint, there would be a different feeling. I remember when in Diablo 3 they were gonna patch the game to make it easier, and there was this rush from some folks to try to beat Diablo
Before it was
on
patched.
hardcore
Yep.
mode, right?
That was me. I did that.
You did that too?
My brother and I corpse hopped much of the way through Act 3. One of us would run forward and die, and then the other one would teleport to their body and run forward and die. And we spent at least a day doing that. I don't actually remember if we ended up getting the kill before the patch came in or not.
Mm-hmm.
Long time ago now.
Yeah, it was quite a long time ago. I only remember First Stone Crip hearing.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
That was like a pretty big thing.
he got pretty famous for that specific thing. Like, that's one of the big things that made his stream blow up.
Yeah, it was huge. I think I was following it pretty closely. I remember I beat Diablo before the patch, but not in hardcore mode. I'm not that hardcore. Let's see. Felter says, how does seeing... Oh, no, that was the same question. The next person says, Ignis Loki says, what was your biggest challenge as indie develop? Was it personal or job related? Biggest challenge? Biggest challenge? I don't really... There wasn't never like a big spiky moment. I was like, oh, like this is like a very difficult thing. I think when we released the game, it was a little disheartening to see like 80 sales.
Really?
We didn't get much sales the first week. Maybe like 200 or something.
Wow.
And so I was like, can I make minimum wage off of this? Am I gonna have to go back to Amazon? So I guess that was like it kind of like soured the mood, you know? We were kind of like, is this gonna work out?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're in the future now, so we can see that it did. Because it was like 2.5 years until we released. So I don't know if that was a challenge more than an emotion. But yeah, we just kind of diligently worked on the game for 2.5 years. I would say on and off. There were some moments where we didn't work too much.
It definitely took me a little while to find it. I found it through like another streamer who plays a lot of indie games.
Yeah, there's a lot of it's just very hard to market a game because it has to be, there's just a lot of areas that get considerably more visibility than others.
Mm-hmm.
So, but things worked out. Otherwise, I don't know what the other biggest challenge was. I think generally, I tend to not exercise enough when I get too into working on something, and then I injure my back. So weirdly enough, my biggest challenge is staying physically healthy.
How's your back doing right now?
Terrible. Oh my goodness. I'll
Yeah.
send you a message about some sad things later, but don't want to be too I don't know what's the word I'm looking for here.
Negative?
Make some sad
Possibly.
statements. But,
I
yeah.
feel like talking about the bad things is important too. I think Bob Ross taught us that. But
Thanks,
I'm
Bob
not gonna
Ross.
I'm not gonna make you do that. Yeah, I started getting a weekly massage about halfway through this year, and that is one of the best things that has happened to me this year. Just straight up, it is such a good idea to get a weekly massage. I have a guy who understands my body, understands what problems I run into regularly, keeps an eye on everything, and I don't hurt all the time anymore. And that's really nice.
Not hurting all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, just sometimes
Novel
now.
concept.
Yeah.
I think I probably had maybe like 12 working days that were like pretty much canceled because of like back issues this year.
Mhm. Yeah,
Not
I was
good.
having that a bit last year, and
I just grew up super frugal, so I like to this day cannot process paying for that kind of service. It's like very difficult.
Mhm.
And my wife is like, just like, oh, you need to take better care of yourself. Like, consider like a massage or like a chiropractor or like anything.
Mhm.
Maybe that'll be my 2024 goal, is to actually see a professional instead of buying like $30 products off of Amazon to hope that it will like solve all my problems. Which,
You
by
have
the
a
way,
little
does
massage gun?
not. For all the folks in here, just so you know, buying like a little thing that like massages your back or something does not solve your issues. Turns out. See. All right, let's answer a question. The lagging pants says, "Did you jump full into game development? It's always been an interest of mine, but I have to start with doing it as pastime around work. Is that something you have experience with, and could share advice on?" I would say that I did game development on the side when I was in college, and then when I was working at Amazon, I did it a little bit on the side. However, I kind of like went all in on it after I quit. I just saved up some money. I wouldn't say a lot of money, but I lived very frugally. I lived with one of my friends, so I was kind of getting like a good rate, and I just didn't spend much money. So I was like, I can probably do game dev without making much money for quite a few years. And if it doesn't work out, I guess I'll have to go back to tech, and maybe I'm not cut out for it. It's kind of how I felt. In general, I would not. If you are in a bad financial situation, I don't recommend quitting a job to get into game development. I think that is very irresponsible. The average amount, the median salary for an indie developer is very, 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 very bad. I think it is less than minimum wage. So I don't recommend kind of going all into it. It's a very competitive thing, and I don't know. Anthony and I have made a lot of games in the past. It's like Megacrit's first game, but it's like Anthony and I's game 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8, or 9, or 10, or something. So definitely get experience. It's a lot. I wouldn't say it's easier to make games now. It's easier to learn how to make games, but the competition is also harder. So, and there's more money in it, so that's good too. Yeah, it's hard to say. Things are always changing.
How much control do you feel there is over whether a game is successful that belongs to the people who are making the game? I don't know if I phrased that well.
I was like, people making the game.
So, as a streamer, when I get asked that question, like, is it worth it to quit my job to become a streamer? One of the points that I make often is that whether you succeed as a streamer or not is heavily out of your control. If you already know all of the right people and already know exactly how to make all of the content you want to make, like, you've got better odds,
Mhm.
but you may not have much flexibility in that world to actually do what you want. It may be like, I know that this thing exactly will work, and so I can do this thing exactly, but that may not actually be your dream. And outside of that, like, I was a successful gamer. I had worked in gaming. I am good at storytelling. I had made online content in video format before. And it still took me like 2 years as a streamer to make minimum wage, and I think I got lucky.
Mhm.
And then largely why I really succeeded as a streamer was that I played a game that became popular, but I didn't predict that it would become popular. Like, Slay the Spire becoming popular was not a thing that I knew was going to happen when I started playing it. So,
How much control do we have?
Yeah.
I mean, have survivorship bias.
mhm.
But I also worked a lot in the kind of like, I wouldn't say industry, but worked in making games and tech. And I also just live in a spot where there are a lot of game developers and a lot of resources. So, how much control do we have? I don't know. It's like, there's just so many factors. But I would always, it would be good to talk to an expert or ask advice to people who know what they're doing, so you can evaluate what that looks like for yourself. And it's just a very complicated thing, and that's a, if we knew the answer to that, I think a lot of people's lives would be a lot better. But it's a little bit out of our control. A little bit out of our control. Some of it is in control, and you just need to be a very stubborn person as well, and you have to be kind of like emotionally very stable, because there's a lot of failure involved. Most of the early games I made pretty much made no money, like zero. So if you are the type of person to give up after one or two things, or if you don't think that making games is something that you kind of compulsively want to do, then it is probably not the correct thing to do, especially if you want to make money. If money is your goal, there are much better paths to take than game development. But I don't know, I just like creative pursuits, and I like video games. I'm always talking about video games. I write about video games. The things that I write about, it's not like I don't write them for other people, which is a very funny thing to say. I write it because I kind of keep thinking about things until I write about it. Once I write about it, I kind of have like, it's like a stress release. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's like out there, and I don't have to think about it anymore because I just wrote it all out there. So
Yes. Journaling is a powerful tool for processing thoughts. And then publishing that to be read by others can be cathartic in its own way, too. That is, like, my book was originally meant to be a journal post, and then I started thinking, oh, maybe it's a blog post as it got longer, and then eventually I thought, oh, it's an entire book. But the entire time that I was writing it, it was largely for me. And then I started interviewing some other people, and then I was writing it for them as well. But they were talking to me because they wanted to tell their stories largely for themselves. Like, it was a bunch of people who just wanted to, yeah, there's something about that process that helps you resolve things that are going on in your world.
I agree. Let's see. In chat, Blueberry says, "Did you start with one great game or several small games?" Several small games for sure, and that's like a pretty standard advice for developers these days, I would say, and it is very, very good advice. You should always start small. There have been successes with games that did not start small, but those are extremely rare, or the people who made those games have had adjacent experience in things that would help making those games usually. Let's see here. If you're curious more about that kind of stuff, there is the blog post that S. Revelier talked about. It is titled Young Adult Casey Yano. That's the blog post.
Do you ever do birthday things? Are you a birthday person? Wait, it was just Christmas. Are you a Christmas person?
Am I a Christmas person? I'm not a Christmas or birthday person.
Okay.
I don't really celebrate much things.
Do you accept gifts at any time in the year?
I do awkwardly. I have that thing where I'm like, thank you. But I should really train myself to be like, this is so nice, thank you very much. Just a little awkward there. Not gonna lie, need to work on that. Should get going soon. I'm gonna try to like shotgun answer all these questions. I'm very bad at leaving things unresolved.
Mhm.
Pokemon Nerd says, when the heart was first created, why didn't it start out with the invulnerable buff? This is technically hard version 4, but why didn't it start out with the invulnerable buff? The invulnerable buff, is that the 300 HP one?
Yeah. Can only take a certain amount of damage per turn.
I see. Why didn't it start out with it? We saw the problem was that some of the late game archetypes were like one-shotting things because of exponential gains, and we didn't want the final boss to be that abusable in that sense. So that's my answer.
That's why it ended up having that.
Yes, corrective window. Wanted a few turns so that you can at least experience the AI of the heart before.
Yep.
I guess AI is a different meaning now. The moveset of the heart before. You just kind of one-shot it on turn 0. This happens quite often when I play games like Noita, where I'm just like, boom, and the boss just dies. It's like, oh.
It's like, sometimes I'm in a boss fight and I'm like, do I try to play this worse so that I find out what the enemy does?
And you know what it actually does for the next time.
But on the other hand, it's
Totally
being
understand.
presented as the final boss of the game, so if you let it have a turn, the game's telling you, like, it'll be really dangerous to do that. So yeah, there are games I've won where I don't actually know what the final boss does. And maybe never will.
Exactly. So I didn't want that problem where, the boss just dies instantly, so I guess that's the reason why. And I saw that problem, and that was the solution. Is it the best solution? I don't know. Subjective. All things are subjective, though. Alright. Albion asks, is there an amount of money we can donate to charity in order for you to bring back Runic Dodecahedron, the best shaped relic? What? I would. I don't think we'll be updating the game, so I would just ask a modder. It's probably the better choice. But I like the sentiment that the money is donated to charity. Zella C says, "Hello Casey, have you played Pyre? I think that's from Supergiant. What are your thoughts on a sports but make it nerdy genre?" Sports but make it nerdy genre has a lot of potential. I haven't specifically played Pyre. I don't know why, but I think Beastie Ball is another game coming out somewhat. I don't know if it's soon, but that's by the folks who created Chicory, Coin Crypt, and quite a few games, I think, actually. So that could be. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff there. I agree that I think I have fond memories of like this like soccer game with Mega Man in it when I was playing on the SNES back in the day. OSCF? I don't know how to say this. Sorry. Osef?
I say Osef.
Are you doing the art and writing for your new project? I would say I'm doing the writing. I'm not doing the art this time around. My main focus is in kind of like just being a boss. Just I have to do a lot of production and direction. So I'm doing creative direction, and doing sound direction, but I'm not drawing the characters this time around for whatever we are doing. I'm doing a lot of the code for the UI as well. So I guess I would say art programming, a lot of writing, a lot of directing and producing, and a lot of biz dev. So Brogata says, "Hi Casey, who is your least favorite enemy in the Spire?" That is an interesting question. I think everybody hates one of the ones that I like. Maybe I shouldn't say it. It's too much of a hot take. But I think writing math is great. I like ruining everybody's day with the chaos. I think sometimes you need a little wrench in your universe, you know. He's my least favorite enemy in the Spire. Probably Lagavulin ruining my life when I'm trying to play test the game before a patch every single time. My goodness. DRL says, "Hi Casey, your game is incredible. Thank you very much." Well, thank you very much for your kind words. And I hope you have a great rest of 2023.
You've spoken a lot, you and Anthony have spoken a lot about how a lot of how you balanced Spire was data driven, and you had lots and lots of runs from people, and you looked at what was performing and underperforming and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But your comment about Lagavulin just made me wonder if you have ever just nerfed an enemy because you really didn't like it and thought it was too hard.
Definitely.
Okay.
There are some non-data driven ways we nerf certain monsters or change them in ways. One of them is the combat takes too long, which is like it just becomes tedious and it's not fun. And sometimes the way we lose to certain enemies is very painful. Like if you're taking damage over time and they're just gaining more and more block, and even though it feels like they're not like that strong, or sorry, even though statistically it's correct, it can feel bad. So those are kind of things that are not really data driven.
Makes sense.
Oker says, "Are there any mechanics you regret adding?" There are mechanics that can be improved. I don't know if I would regret adding too many. Maybe intangible. I think the potion system is it's kind of in a spot where you kind of forget about it, which is not very good.
I think at high difficulty, the potion system shows up. But I know what you mean for, like, a more casual player playing the game for the first time or whatever.
Yeah. Specifically, tangible just kind of bypasses so many things, which isn't good. And it kind of just like, it's like, this is a design, and then we're going to ignore this entire section of the design. And it's not very good when we do that. So, but you know, sometimes it happens. Lazor says, "Do you like Padoru Padoru?" I'm not sure what that is. There's like a cute little emoji. Is that the person? Padoru Padoru? Kind of in the anime girls category. It seems fine. I don't know. Everyone's just typing Padoru Padoru. What is this? What is this Padoru Padoru? This is a trap. Alright. Shaga Malaga says, "What was your job at Amazon, Casey?" My job was a quality assurance engineer. So I looked at software and I wrote a lot of bugs and I told people how it should be. So I guess I'm a underpaid critic. It's in non-technical terms. Sable60ch says, "Casey, do you think that the indie industry can produce so much games and be sustainable? It's already not sustainable, since it is impossible even for niche specialists to follow releases of games within a single niche. I don't think it is healthy to make games based on what kind of releases are coming out. I think you should just do what you want to do and just kind of work from the heart, TM. You know, you need to just work with your gut. And your gut will get stronger the more you work on stuff. You'll just start to feel out what is kind of like lacking, in your opinion, in the industry and in the design space, and then you just have to believe in yourself. It seems prone to a collapse. I mean, the music industry has been like this for a long time. So if you consider the music industry as collapsed, then then it will collapse. If you think the music industry is healthy, then it will be healthy here as well. See, Gabs the Bar says, "Hi Casey, have you participated in many game jams?" No, I'm not. I'm a extreme perfectionist, and I can pretty much never meet the deadlines that are set up by game jams. I have participated in 2 total, which is I consider not many. All right, I did it. I answered all the questions. Thank you.
Well done.
Yes.
Thanks for joining
I did
us.
it. All right. I'm gonna go
Great
have
to
some
have you.
lunch.
Yeah.
Best of luck on the runs. And if you ever have more questions in the Slay the Spire Discord, we have an Ask the Devs section. And I answer them quite often. If you want Anthony to answer any questions, you should write Anthony answer the questions. Because I'm answering most of them. I need to stop answering questions. I have like a compulsion to answer all questions.
Mm-hmm. Anthony might be on later this week, but it's like, holiday season, so plans are always hard to work out.
Anthony has a much larger family by where he lives, so he gets pretty busy during the holidays. So I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't show up.
Yep.
All right. Bye. Good luck.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. That was Casey. Do you want to plug your Twitter or something, or is that a thing you care about?
If you ever type Casey Yano without spaces, like CSEYYNO, then all those things will show up in Google or whatever.
Yeah, there are some really fun blog posts out there.
Yeah.
I hope
Hopefully
your
the
back
next game
improves.
will come out soon, but we gotta announce it, so it won't just come out of nowhere. So.
All right.
Bye.
See ya. I just realized that my heat isn't turned on. I guess it's only. I guess it's 50 degrees today. That's not too bad. I decided to turn it on though. Casey is no longer here. Casey has hung out with us. He has loved us and left us. Now we can start wildly speculating about what their next game will be. Now that he's not here. I think it's an intense visual novel in the spirit of Doki Doki Literature Club. I could take Panacea. I already have an artifact potion. I'm thinking I beat the heart with Ancient Pot Speed Pot. I wouldn't be surprised if it was an incremental game. It feels like it could be an incremental game. Hey Josh, how are you? 2 Universal, 2 paper clips. I am certain that I would absolutely love an incremental game by Mega Crit. That would be hot. a nice Christmas and watching a nice... Cool. Ever deflect. I have 2 backflips. Actually might be. What is an incremental game? That's an interesting question. Like Diablo is kind of an incremental game, but usually incremental games are... It's the idea of number gets bigger and bigger, but you strip out a lot of the like narrative and mechanics, so you're just kind of clicking buttons to make that happen. But yeah, the genre boundaries are a little fuzzy, I think. Orb of Creation might be the most essential example. Orb of Creation is one example of an incremental game, to be sure. I don't know if it's the example. My potions are kind of locked, which is kind of miserable, because I have an Alchemize and a Nightmare. Sometimes incremental games are like free-to-play browser games, which is interesting because they definitely can be easily made. But they can also be made very, very well. I thought it was interesting when Casey pointed out that people are maybe not used to paying for incremental games, and so maybe that's why Orb of Creation, people are hesitant to pay for it. I don't even think it's very expensive, and like for how much work went into it, it's feels extremely reasonable to me. Incremental games are video games' version of minimalist art. Maybe. Kind of. I fairly often say on this channel that all strategy games kind of feel like the same strategy game. Tungsten Rod seems good here. And so a nice thing about incremental games sometimes is you're playing the strategy game. You know, you have some resources and you're trying to get as much as you possibly can out of them. It's the strategy. That's just what the strategy game is. That's what it is every time you play it. But a nice thing about incremental games is that you have as little as possible between you and enjoying doing that. The more you play it, Hades cares less about the narrative and more about how efficiently well you play through whatever it throws. Oh. Hades is an incremental game. Yeah, I think you reach a point where you've played enough Hades that it starts to feel like that, maybe. But maybe that's the thing that an incremental game is. It's being able to strip away the story and mechanics of a game to a point where it just feels like number gets bigger. Maddie in our Discord posted an excellent video essay about Celeste and how, as you play more Celeste, when you start out playing Celeste, it does a great job of pairing an emotion with what you're doing. So you go through a scary temple and you actually feel scared as the player. But as you play more and more Celeste, the emotion gets stripped out of it and you just feel focused on the puzzle because you've gotten to a point where you're no longer experiencing something as new, you already know what's happening. kind of interesting. Because we have different emotional responses to things when they are new compared to when they are things that we've gotten used to, for sure. Casey doesn't love cat girls. We need to stop idolizing him and being his friend. I don't idolize him, but I'm going to keep being his friend. Hey, monk, 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 monk. I thought Casey handled being asked what he thought of cat girls in front of 1,000 people admirably. I think it would be very unreasonable to get on his case about that. Yeah, thank you, Gus Rob. My denouncing chat as unreasonable. You're like playing a game of Civ and on like turn 4, you get a little dialogue. Jorbs has denounced you. Mini Jorbs is in the background of my leader picture. What would I denounce you for? Only Tuesday and you've already been denounced? Sorry. Denounced for backseating? Believable. You can't cut back on cat girl. Building too close to your borders, even though our city is 800 years older than yours. So I know somebody who has done balance work for Civ. And he wasn't asked to for Civ 6. And I also know, like, who he is as a gamer, like which things he cares about and which things he notices and things like that. And when I play Civ 6, and things that he would have caught, like, clearly didn't get caught, it makes me unreasonably angry. It's one of the reasons I don't play more Civ. Because, like, he doesn't charge that much. No. Is this like the Phoenix Point thing? Kind of. I was actually thinking about how the game doesn't clearly communicate to you what settling too close to somebody's borders even is. I feel like you would have caught that 100%, and I feel like it's just like kind of bad. Yeah. That's what I was thinking of. All of the tea today. I even had some tea, but then I didn't drink it fast enough, so now it's cold. Now I have like a third of a cup of tea on my desk just looking at me. Completely undrinkable. Never been an iced tea person. Being denounced by England. True. What's the king up to? I feel like I used to hear a lot about the queen, and now that there's a king, I'm just like not hearing much at all. Embezzling and adding whiskey to things. Alright. Is that what the king is like generally for? Am I just like infinite? I'm not, but like, I'm pretty sure I'm kind of close. I don't generate energy anywhere. He has a bee farm? That is kind of cool. Good for him. I thought about getting bees. I had an entire thing, because I had a bunch of wasps, and I was like, well, that's not cool. I don't really want wasps. But then I was like, wait, now that there are wasps here, I'm thinking about it, and I could get bees. Then I was thinking about getting bees. But then I actually looked into it, and apparently wasps are pollinators native to the Pacific Northwest. And bees are not. These are the baddies here in the Pacific Northwest. Well, they're not really the baddies, but you know. Who's the invasive species now? Yeah. So then I just kept my wasps. They stung me one time all season, which was the time that I found out they existed, and then I just avoided them and they left me alone and were never a problem. And now they're gone, because they only stick around until like the beginning of fall, basically. I don't know where they went. Where'd they go? I hope they're okay. I became a lot more emotionally invested in a hive of wasps than I thought I was going to. Honeybees are the baddies. There are lots of native important bees. Oh, okay. Zephyr just used the letterbox, and he likes to sometimes tell me that he has. So he then came and meowed at me. And now he's left, and it smells like cat poop. I should not have put the cat litter close enough to my desk for me to smell it while I was at work. That was a mistake that I made when I set up my house. I don't have a single piercing oil. I think I just don't care, and I'll take the footwork. Jorbs is on that poop maxing. I don't know what that means, and I'm pretty sure I don't want to know what that means. I have a tungsten rod. You can move it by moving it a few inches a day. I'm not looking forward to the, like, week and a half where it's behind me on camera. That is a clever idea, though. I never considered that. Do not Google poop maxing. You know I wasn't going to. Gives that for a privacy curtain. Aw. Aw. I've decided to keep pain, just on principle. Move the litter slowly to the toilet, then on top of it, to train your cat to use the toilet. Is that how you do it? I've heard about toilet training your cat. I didn't know that was how you did it. One of the classic blues guys. Like the music genre? Light. Your childhood cat learned by watching your parents potty train your brother. That's very cute. I'm not sure that we deserve cats. I have a feeling we maybe don't. You remember seeing Mingus's guide on this? Wait, it was Mingus? I find that very funny. So I don't remember anything about the Ironclad run. Alright, it's coming back to me now. I had an infinite with Dropkick and Flash of Steel. I had Corruption and Dark Embrace. Dark Embrace was bottled. Wrong run. I was very focused on listening to Casey. Casey's very interesting. I like reading his blog posts and stuff. Air Plus seems good. Don't really know what I'm about to do here. I am assuming that the heart just kind of dies. What if that isn't true? probably true. It seemed like very autopilot. Click on the cards that say exhaust run. I think there were a couple of moments in there where I have to think. Like Die 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 has upgraded every time. The warp comes. Thought about upgrading in Venom. Basically a full heal. I just play in Venom. Oh, I have bullet pencil. I don't know that. Alright, let's do this then. Five on lower ascension and boom shika wow wow. No. Seems like it might be a decent length act for this round. Takes me a few turns to play my 5 apparitions, and then I kind of just win. Seems to be the vibe with this deck. To remind me to hydrate. I have 5. I have 5 containers for liquid on my desk, and one of them is empty. Thank you, feed me those nuggies. Oh yes, my 8 apparitions with Nightmare. I see what's happening. When will AI become powerful enough to be able to explain to the streamer what people in Twitch chat are saying? That'd be a use case. Dear streamer, the chatter has said these words, meaning this thing. You should respond. I guess I would like to end the fight this turn. Seems hard. The way to do it feels like it is to hit something off this reflex. Hit it once. It would have been a lot funnier if it failed. That's too bad. Would I want AI backseating me responding to chat? I would like AI to assist me in responding to chat sometimes. Like, it would be nice to have a little feed that was like, this is a subscription that you didn't respond to yet, or this was a really interesting question that you didn't respond to, or whatever. Because AI could be monitoring the things that I say to catch whether I had failed to recognize a comment. Feels like an actual relevant use case. I don't know if Artivore ever works. Would AI know what is an interesting question? It would just have to have opinions about which questions are interesting. Artivore will happen sometimes. Started telling the story, but got distracted and didn't finish it. Do I need AI to tell me that, though? That's just every time I tell a story, I think. Kind of impossible to take damage if I hold Nightmare Apparition here, I think. I think this just wins without taking damage every time. All the applications for AI boil down to the first step is to build a near fantasy level general intelligence. The second step is to use it for looking at pictures of cats. In fairness, that's also what we've done with humans, so... Why change what has worked? Imagine if this deck had one copy of Tactician. I guess I have one more card reward. Is this my moment? What? What? This number is about 4 times higher than I thought it would be. Excuse me? Okay. Drink. Ancient potion, speed potion. Alright. It's a good blur. I don't think I'm playing Endless Agony. Yet. Block or just Deadly Poison? Maybe just Deadly Poison. A lot of the Tingsha damage was blocked. Unbelievable. How dare they? Feels like stopping here is okay. If I dagger throw into apparition is kind of bad. Also, I guess I want Art of War. I want to go Well-Laid Plans, Nightmare Apparition. Look at that Art of War. Way to go, Art of War. I don't think it would do anything. 4 energy already. Oh, I think it was guaranteed to upgrade Nightmare, so I didn't actually need it. It's fine. Really enjoy this kind of deck too. Find it very satisfying to play a deck like this. A lot of apparitions. Can't really need them. Get Casey back in demand, Slimed Plus. I believe Casey's line was get modders to do it, which I respect. I think it's a good line. Let's get rid of this now. Dead Boy Detective. Thank you for the 26 months. Maybe I should have pen-nibbed Finisher instead of Neutralize or whatever it was I pen-nibbed. Honestly, didn't know I had a pen-nib. Don't think it matters. What has been your favorite thing this year, Twitch chat? Any sweet games? Any sweet, like, conventions or events? Fun things at work, maybe? Maybe some company secrets to share? Maybe some stock trading advice? Oddities and Curiosities Expo in October. I had a friend who went to that. Where was that? To play Spirit Island with cool nerds in Seattle. True. Got all A's in your first semester back to school 18 years after dropping out. That's really cool. Logan the Bard, that's awesome. Very cool. Well done. I hope you're having fun too. Great. Trip with your sister to Greece. Nice. The whole circuit going all over the country, but you went in Denver. Cool. Getting a flat with your girlfriend. That sounds awesome. Nearly year-long plumbing issue in the house is resolved. Awesome. Went to China to see your wife's family. For the first time in 5 years. It's really nice. Thinking about making some big life changes. Moved to a new job. Thinking of actually doing that. Got engaged for Christmas. Congratulations. That's really exciting. Hello. Say hi to everyone. Started college and got all A's except one B. Nice. That's really good. Left a toxic relationship, changed countries, finished your PhD, got a new job, and met a new wonderful person all in the last month. What? Sorry, you did all of those things in the last month? Are writing a book